Welcome back to Exposed. So, before the break, we had Agunhise White with us in studio talking about his anti-tobacco law proposal that has been submitted, and now it's going to go through the community decision-making process eventually. So, what are your takes on the tobacco industry and this law in general?
Well, I think first of all, tobacco industry is the industry in Ganawanga. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, there is other things. I mean, what is there's the MIT tobacco, and I don't know, trees in the summer sometimes. Just do trees, but I mean, like it's automatically not going to go through. It's not going to pass.
Well, that's what
We know that, but I think to help with his debate, something needs to be put in place other than tobacco, because right now he's saying, no, don't do that, and then like the guy's gonna be like, well, what did I do then? What should I do, sir? And he's gonna have no answer for them.
I think it's important, like, obviously there's a lot of views towards the tobacco industry, and whether you're opposed or, for it or somewhere in the middle. But, and I personally, and I'm not the biggest fan of the tobacco industry for the health reasons and among other things. But obviously I understand that we need to rely on another industry before we just, get rid of it altogether.
I think that's one of the because we all know a lot of people that work in stores, or they do shifts at the factories and stuff like that, and one of the important things is that if this tobacco industry is going to be taken away, like you said, we need an alternative, and there are some options out there. I think it was Deodoni Zakta that's doing promotions for
the wind farm.
Yeah, or even just like in terms of jobs for other people, encouraging employers that they'll pay a certain amount of salary so that other people can be doing other jobs in different places, which is important, especially if so many jobs are going to be taken away from people that rely on it as their major source of income. And I think that could be a problem, and that's something that really needs to be taken into consideration.
I understand where he's coming from, that that's basically our reputation now. We're the tobacco giants of whatever you want to call us, but whatever. We do tobacco now. We're not people of the Flint, like he said. Mm-hmm. But people of the Flint was hundreds of years ago. We need to make a living. Tobacco's there, and honestly, there's not much else. Obviously, it's not going to go through. I said it a while ago. It's obviously not going to go through. But I mean, just the proposal has sparked such a debate that maybe we should start thinking about other things that could possibly become a different source of income.
But that's what I think. Like, if anything, the greatest thing that could come out of this proposal is that ideas start getting thrown around, and there is some sort of movement, and it gets people talking, which I think was one of the big positives to him coming out and bringing this law for people to see. It gets you thinking what are other options that we have? Maybe I'm not so proud to be associated with just the tobacco industry when I say I'm from Ganawage. It gets the ball rolling in a different direction than to the where we've gotten so far.
As well as having the tobacco industry regulated better.
That's true.
Actually regulated. Because I went next door to the KTA a while ago to ask them about statistics, and it's almost at that point again where you've seen a couple of years ago why the KTA was started, when there were people are, it's it gets so competitive, and then people are selling cigarette for $2 and stuff like that, where it's you don't even make enough money, and you can't afford to pay your workers and stuff like that, and it's just ridiculous.
When the KTA finally came in, I mean, it worked. Everyone's prices went back up to where they should have. It was just eventually things started
because people don't want to.
Again.
Because some people don't want to be members of the KTA, and that's when I think you need a law to regulate the law comes in handy.
Should be regulation, should not be abolished.
So with the tobacco industry in general, what do you think are the pros and cons of it right now, the way it is?
obviously pros is jobs,
Yeah, well,
money.
again, when I was next door, I asked them how, they couldn't give me a number about how many people are employed, but it's a lot. And to give you an idea, there are approximately between 110 and 115 cigarette stores in town. Obviously, not all of them are members of the KTA. And then there are between 10 and 12 cigarette factories. Some that are obviously smaller, bigger than others, that employ more people than others. But that's a lot of people that relies on this industry, and a lot of families, obviously, like my family certainly does. I don't know about Gunhise White's family, if he depend, like if his family even depends on it.
And one of the cons, I guess, would be a health risk. And I mean, nobody wants to talk about it, but I mean, like, there's also it could be like considered a criminal organization. I mean, that's what RCMP considers that.
Well, yeah, it's considered a contraband tobacco to them, but.
Oh, I think another one of the cons is even just to drive down the highway by my house and to just, I mean, at some points, I don't think it's ever dark down the highway.
It's like Vegas.
That's, and I
Cheap Vegas.
really, like, even with, you know, like, because I live down, what is it, the 132 going to St. Constant? Or yeah. Even, like, with the poker house there with their lights, and it's just, I feel like I'm on a different planet sometimes driving down there. Like, we're in Vegas because there's lights constantly. And, I mean, you know, that's the only thing that a lot of people associate when they're driving through Kahnawake or into Kahnawake. It's just cigarette stores, and that's it. And that's all that's one of the bigger things that we've been branded with, and it's...
But it's like, concerning that, when Gunhise first submitted this law back, what was it, in August or September, there was a letter to the editor in the Eastern Door saying, like, did he submit this because he's ashamed of the industry and how, like, we shouldn't care what outsiders think of it? And I think that's true, but at the same time, like, it's just so ugly to see that, like, cigarette store after cigarette store after cigarette store.
Mm.
And
True.
I know one of the other issues that Gunhise mentioned was how it, I guess, deters youth from furthering their education. And
That's true. That was a good point.
I think there's some truth in it for certain individuals, and I would agree that, but I mean, it really depends on each, like, person. And in the past few years, the education rates for the people in Kahnawake going to post-secondary has increased, I think.
Yeah, I think when he made that statement, though, it's kind of implied that not everyone, you know, is like flocking, saying, oh, I can just go work at a cigarette store for the rest of my life. I
But
mean,
it is appealing.
Yeah. Well, no, because money, you know, we live in such a capitalist world that, you know, if the easy way to make money is usually the most appealing, not for everyone, but for some people, it's really important.
But what kind of is interesting is that Gunhise, in his, I guess, his reasoning for this proposal, like, didn't touch on the health effects at all. And that's, I think, one of the biggest reasons why I'm not entirely fond of this industry is, like, smoking cigarettes is bad.
And then handling them and being in the environment with them all the time is just as, it can be just as bad. Especially, you know, when you work in a cigarette store, people that are coming in to buy the cigarettes from you are smokers, and so you're around it all the time, whether it's just the tobacco in the bags or, you know, someone coming in smoking.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of controversy too on, like, the health effects of it in general when you, like, read through any news article. But
I think that would be something interesting that I'd like to find out more about, is what exactly are the health risks in terms of, like, you know, working inside of a factory or working with cigarettes, like, just to find out, you know, I guess scientifically what has been proven that it'll do for you. And that's another angle that could be brought in terms of, you know, proposing regulation or abolishment or what have you for whatever will come of all of this.
Yeah. And well, I know that specifically in like big tobacco manufacturing companies, like not in Kahnawake, I was told that, you know, like they spray like chemicals on their tobacco and stuff like that, but it's not here. So it's different. It would be interesting to also see like the differences between.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just a thought. But yeah.
No, there's a lot of things to look into, and it's such a controversial subject. There's two sides to the coin, you know, like most things, and it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens after all of this.
So yeah, definitely, and I hope everyone does actually go out to the community decision-making process meetings whenever they will be scheduled on this issue, because it's very important and obviously will affect all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you've been watching Exposed. If you have any comments or questions on this week's show, you can give us a call at 450-632-6397, or you can email us at mohawktv@hotmail.com. Thank you, and see you again in 2 weeks. Anna.
Anna.
On.
If you're interested in buying airtime with Mohawk TV for your independent programming, please call today at 450-632-6397 or email us at mohawktv@hotmail.com for our rates.